The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Yes. Something the truthers don't seem to want. We know our truth community, the truther community, online truthers that is, was started by the CIA, one of the biggest lying entities on the planet. We already know when speaking out and speaking about truth that you get attacked for telling the truth. We also already know that all these people who claim they want truth, regardless of what gender it is, when you tell them truth, they get angry at you. They get mad at you because they actually really don't want truth. And out of the so-called, I'll say, real truthers that come up and speak up regardless of what people think, you experience other truthers who will get angry at you for telling truth while they're flying under the name of truth. See, it's sort of like this. Our levels of awareness and awakeness to what's going on around us. Okay? And people who are supposedly, I use the word awake because everybody's using it, whether if you want to use higher consciousness, awake, aware of what's going on around you, you pick the wording you want to use. But I'm going to stick with aware or awake of what's really going on around them. And there's people at certain degrees, most people that are awake or aware don't get past a degree of level of 1. There's people that reach higher degrees of being aware or awake to what's really going on in the world. There's people that skills really stand out, people that know history really well, people that pay attention to what's going on around them. But there's one epic failure amongst all of these people that are so-called truthers. I don't experience too many truthers that are actually awake to both ends of the truth. And they get fired up and mad when they hear one side that they're actually not awake to. They'll use cop-outs like most people do to go around the real truth. Or they'll get angry and they'll become mad at real truth. We all been brainwashed, brain raped, however you want to call it. From the time we were born, we've all been lied to. Lied to, and lied to. And real truthers already know this. Okay? So let's examine this a little bit, okay? Game. That's right. Is a man-made creation by the people at the top. The same people that give us all of our problems. And we have implemented game into everything in life. Literally everything. From the financial markets to the business structure to corporations to the sports, their entertainment, to genders. Doesn't matter. We've put in game in everything. Now, why do you suppose that would be? Well, there's a real simple answer. And it's right in your face. It's so in your face. The further the division. There's some people out here that believe, well, we have to have a little division. I can agree with it depending on what context that's put into. Okay. We have to have a little division, as in men's shower rooms and bathrooms, and women's shower rooms and bathrooms. Agreed. I agree. That's division, and we have to have a little division, okay? But division has been the very tool that the people who gave us our problems, not going into names because there's way too many of them, so we'll just say the people at the top, the elite, who give us our problems, and then after they give you the problem, they also give you the solution. Problem, reaction, your reaction to the problem, then they give you the solution to the problem they created that you never had to begin with. The game, when it was put into the context of everything in society, it has led to a very selfish society. You know, when you take the monetary system, the tool, money, that everybody's working to get, except for the people who own it, that are doing this to us. Okay? They don't never worry about it because they can print as much as they want anytime they want and never have a problem because they own it. Because we've allowed a group of people to own something that no group of people should have ever been able to own. But just the same, when it comes to game, and you look at the reality of it, well, it's a dog-eat-dog world. It's just business. To rise to the top, you have to step on other people's faces. You got to wipe your feet on their face. You got to walk all over the top of them. You got to do on to them that you'd never want done on to yourselves. When it comes to the word game that's been implemented into everything, outside of the football stadium and the basketball stadium and so on, that's even created a problem in that area. You now have fans who get so serious about their sport that you're for one team and they're for the other, and they get angry and they go attack the fan of their opposite team because they don't like that team. So it became physical and turned into physical violence. This is what game has done for you. It's turned everything into walking on each other, dumping on each other, shitting on each other, not caring about one another's feelings. And it was all a man-made concept from the very beginning. So that's what that's done for us, okay? And truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. Let's look at care for an example. See, I've always cared about everybody in general. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your race is, where you come from. Okay? Human beings in general. And in general, I actually really care enough that I want what's right for everybody. Not my selfish self. So I don't fit into the mold of today's society, do I? No, I don't. The biggest problem I see when it comes to care is it's been cremated. It's been incinerated. It's been cremated and dumped out to sea and washed away. The majority of people out here, and I mean the majority, it's not a gender issue once again, because it affects both genders the same, and the majority of the female and the majority of the male, both genders, okay, don't have care anymore. The only care they have is for their selfish selves or their immediate surrounding of people they've picked out. That's it. They don't care about the stranger down the street that they've never met or the stranger in the next city over that they've never met whatsoever. They could care less about them. Now this goes into a deeper topic when it comes to awakeness and awareness. Do you suppose that we could have all these problems that's been given to us that we didn't have before? Okay? And that you could call yourself a truther and fly the label truther and not have care? Because when you don't have care and you're calling yourself a truther and you're becoming somebody who speaks out, an activist, as in myself even, who speaks out about the issues, then when you lack that care, what do? What do you commonly see? You commonly see them act like truth is a buffet line, that they can march through real truth and pick out the stuff they want and disregard the rest and call the rest nonsense when it's actually not nonsense. Or they can pick out the topics of the problems that's been handed to us that they want to speak about, ignore the rest. That's right. And matter of fact, even slam truth they don't want to hear, or that they become angry about. Because, see, like them, like me, like all of us, we've been programmed since the time we was a child. And depending on where you grew up, what state you're in, what community you are, what school system you attended, the programming tends to vary a little bit. It's not one and the same. But it has the same outcome. Lie after lie after lie after lie after lie. Communities acting within the programming of their community. So when you really think about this hard on an awareness level of being awake, when you fail to see or fail to care, and then you're speaking out, you actually really cannot help the corruption. I don't care how many ideas you come up with, because, see, the first mistake is when you don't care, but about yourself and your immediate surroundings, and you're not willing to change a thing about yourself because you're content with yourself, even though you know you're doing things that's wrong, like, practice do it onto somebody else that you would want done onto yourself. And what did I say a little earlier in this video? About our workplace, the monetary system. It's dog eat dog world, it's business. Gotta throw them under the bus to rise up the ranks. Gotta walk on their face, step all over them. Though you clearly know you wouldn't want that done onto you. And some of you people that are in these positions are so-called truthers, so-called activists. While behind the scenes, you're stepping on somebody's face for your own greed, for the tool. Okay? That's one example. Then we have, well, the gender issue, which is a gigantic problem within itself. Because game never belonged in the gender issue. No more than it should have never been taught, ever, that boys do not hit girls. A gender should have never been brought into that. Should have been taught that we don't hit one another regardless. But we didn't teach that, did we? No. You know why we never taught that? So that we could create that division. And that's not a little bit of division that's needed. That's never been needed. It's there to furtherly break down the genders, to destroy the communication and relationship of men and women, both, across the board. What we have done, though, is when you look around you, you got all these double standards. And as being born a male in today's society, that's been going on for quite a long time now. Really has. Being born a male in today's society, well, yeah, things just clearly ain't fair for the guy, It's just the way it is. Got to accept it. No, we don't have to accept it. We chose to accept it. What I see is I watch, and I see this everywhere, man. There's literally thousands and thousands of men who are taking a hammer and beating themselves over the head on a regular basis every day. I smashed myself in the head with a hammer. I smashed myself in the head with a hammer. I smashed myself in the head with a hammer. I have no problem abusing another male. I will throw him under the bus in a heartbeat. Yep. And I will smash my own self and my own gender in the name of division. Because I don't want fairness. I don't want equalness. Not at all. But I call myself a truther. That's right. I speak out to stop corruption. No, you don't. You play selective. You select what you want to stop. You think you can selectively fix our world by selecting out certain problems and leaving the rest intact. Because you don't care about them. Because you lack care. Cremation of care. Powers to be won, you lost. And you're still losing even right now. Because you fail to see that. And unfortunately, the majority of this has been brought down onto us by who? The male population. Correct. By the men. Not the women, but the men. Though there are women who have played their roles. Even when you look into the names of the elite and the people behind corruption, you find females in positions of total corruption. You sure do. That's because human beings, regardless of gender, tend to have corruption in every single gender and every single race across the planet. Always has and always will. This is why it's vital to call names and point fingers at names. Not genders, not races, but names and faces. But the majority of truthers that are awake, even on a higher level than 2, 3, 4, 5, fail at this miserably. If they didn't fail at it miserably, then you'd have to ask yourself the question, how is it that you can be a woman or a man, tell me you're awake, demonstrate to me that you are really aware of a lot, really talented in these areas, and you're awake to a lot, but somehow you just can't see what they've done to our population when it comes to the genders. Somehow, you just have to keep blowing that off like, one of the ones I really like that I've been experiencing for years now is how you're going to call me a woman hater. Or call other guys a woman hater, or you're going to tell them that these people that can't get laid, TFL was never about getting laid. Ever. One time was it ever about getting laid. From the day it was brought online, when I gave it a name, the name and the problem, within itself, the problem was created by the very same people who've created all of our other problems. And I said the very first day, from the very first day, it was not about sex. Leave sex completely out. It was never about sex, ever. And so many of you play selective hearing. You hear what you want to hear, and you say, "No more, you can't get laid." Okay, so you're the idiot. You're the screwball. You're the one trying to twist and manipulate and rearrange to your own want, and your want is to keep that corruption in place because you don't care about that corruption. So therefore, when you don't care about that corruption, and since this just happens to affect thousands and thousands of men across this world, no lie, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of men across this world are experiencing this. Out of that hundreds of thousands that are experiencing it, a handful comes forward, which is still thousands of men, and you tell them it's their own fault. Well, in a way you're right, but then when I'm going to agree in a way you're right that it's their own fault, then you do understand that Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, 9/11, that's right, the Aurora Batman shooting, okay, Parkland school shooting, all of the problems in society that are going on that you're speaking out against, you do know they're your fault, right? You do know that, right? That it's your own fault this happened. Now, if you get angry at me for saying that, I'm only acting like you are. I'm being just like you. So if you get angry at me, you need to really go look in the mirror and examine your own self. To tell me I don't see something that I clearly see is another lovely thing that I love hearing people say to me. I've been told it many times over the years. And the majority of the time when I'm told it, it's always by the person that actually fails to see it themselves. That is calling the other person that to excuse their own behavior. Because the hardest pill of all, for all of us, and it's a very hard thing to do, is to be able to recognize right from wrong, know what's wrong, know what's right, and then to be able to catch yourself in that wrong and change your own self for the betterment of everybody. That's the one thing that I've discovered that the majority of all people who claim to be a truther do not want to do. And it has nothing to do with gender. I've seen women that don't want to do it, and I've seen men that don't want to do it. You absolutely refuse to go there. Matter of fact, when I bring that topic up, most of the time I hear crickets. That's right. I hear crickets. This is one of the reasons I know when you're hitting real hardcore truth. You don't want to hear it! But you claim you're a truther. You claim you're fighting evil. No, you're really not. Because unless you're willing to fight it straight across the board, that means both sides, not one side. Unless you're willing to recognize, do you think it's an accident that thousands and thousands and thousands of men across the world could be experiencing the exact same thing? And then you're going to tell me, you're going to have the audacity when you know it came from the people at the top, just like I do, like all the other problems did that they gave this to us, and you're going to sit there and say it's their own fault. Do you understand what you're really doing? You know what? All the problems we have is our own fault. You know why? Everybody across the board. Because we all failed to do what was right. Stop the people that are doing this to us. Go after the root cause. But the one I think that eats me up the most is how nobody wants to take responsibility for their own behaviors, which was given to them by these people at the top, their school system, their community, where they grew up, their environment, the brainwashing, the programming. You don't want to claim you recognize right from wrong, and then I have to question you. Do you? Really? You know, if I was to speak up about this guy that's beating this woman or abusing this woman, I would have men and women alike on my side all day long. Even in the truther community. But when I say something about a woman doing wrong unto a man, all of you so-called truthers want to slam me to the ground and cover up her wrong. You want to take a hammer and beat yourself over the head and cover up her wrong. Don't tell me you don't, because you know you do. That's the same thing as when you look around you. Here's a challenge for you, okay? I want you to show me. I'll go with a low number, even though it's really high, okay? I want you to show me 100 sitcoms and movies, it can be both mixed together, that are dedicated to female bashing. Female bashing. Okay? I'm saying that for a really good reason. Because that's all I'm asking you to do is just show me 100 movies and sitcoms, that's right, that have female bashing in them. And I'll even let you put commercials in that, okay? Commercials, sitcoms, and movies that have us cutting down, putting down the female, and that she's wrong for everything she ever done. Any kind of form of female bashing. Please show me that, will you? I'm only asking for 100. Okay, I don't think that should be too hard, right? Now, if you can come up with that 100, I wish you luck at that, by the way. I really do. Because I can guarantee you, without even trying, I could reach 100 and keep going to the next 100, 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 to the next 100 when it comes to male bashing. By our society. Problem created by where? The same people at the top. They give us all of our problems. And I can guarantee you, the majority of so-called truthers, activists speaking out, regardless of what level they're at, are sound asleep to this or deliberately ignoring it. And will be right there putting down that male, smashing themselves in the head with a hammer. That's right. Keeping this problem alive and healthy. Just like the people at the top want you to. Then you think you can change things, huh? I want to know how you're going to do that, really. I want to ask you a question. How do you tell on doing that? Because you've already lost. You've already failed. When you want to tell me, it's just like the 80-20 rule, which shouldn't even exist, but it does. And it's quite real. You want to skew the numbers and manipulate them and make it down and down them numbers and say it's not as bad as that. It's because you've not done your homework. You've not looked into it once. You don't want to look into it because you don't care about it, because it don't affect you. And so as long as it hasn't affected you in your life, then the problem must not exist. It must be these people's own fault. So to all of you people that feel this way, then just remember this. When something happens to you that's legit, and it hasn't happened to me, then I can act the same way you are towards you. And I can tell you it's your own fault. Yep, it's definitely your own fault. You definitely brought it on yourself. Maybe if you'd changed something about yourself. Do you follow where I'm going? Now, if I'm pissing you off, I really don't care one more time. Okay? Because the lack of care, the lack of not wanting to acknowledge what's right in your face, the lack of that, oh, I understand that it's very unfair to be a male and to be a man in today's society, but it's just the way it is. That is the behavior that's been given to you that you're not willing to look at. And for you women who enjoy and get your rocks off on watching men smash themselves down, and smash their heads, and smash themselves, and love watching these two men fight each other for the validation of that female, you're equally as fucked up as they are. You really are. That's the sign of a cold, cold black heart. Very evil. Part of the problem. Really, you're part of the problem. Matter of fact, you condone that problem. And you help that behavior along by condoning it. I know I'm going to be called a womanator again for saying that. But see, this clearly don't apply to all women. No more than it clearly applies to all men. I've said that 1,000,000 times over the last years that I've been doing this since the very beginning. That the issues I talk about do not apply to every single woman or every single man. But every time I've said it, it's always somebody comes along, and even if I said it in that video, they play selective hearing, they couldn't get their ears straight, and they leave that out and still tell me I'm a woman-hater. Though I could talk about the man's wrongs all day long, I don't hear you calling me a man-hater. No. Just a woman-hater, because I dared to show something a woman done wrong that you're busy covering up. That you're busy covering up. If you wasn't covering it up, you couldn't sit there and honestly tell me, well, I know that it's very unfair being a man in today's society, and there's a lot of double standards, but that's just the way it is, nothing wrong with it. You honestly couldn't say that, could you? No, you couldn't. Because if you can honestly say that, it only says you don't give a shit. So therefore, you're awake on this end and asleep on the other end. And when you tell me you're awake to the other end, I'm awake and I understand TFL, I understand blah, 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 blah. You're clearly not awake. You don't understand it. You haven't looked into it. You're just running your mouth, building your ego, saying stuff that's not even so. Because when you get angered at what I say, when it's absolutely concrete truth, you're angered by the truth. And what's the one thing that everybody's experienced, ever spoke out, regardless of which end it's on? Nobody wants truth. If they wanted truth, you wouldn't be attacked so hard for telling it. Let's leave the dating arena and talk about the political and New World Order. You speak out about the false flags. You're caught a nut, you're attacked, you're blah, 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 because nobody wants to hear it, even though you're telling the truth. And you're attacked over and over and over. Now, why did I leave the dating arena out when I said that? Because the truth is, nobody wants the concrete truth. the truth and the whole truth. The whole truth is something the truthers, so-called truthers, the fraudulent truthers, the fakes, the wannabes, okay, just like the fake I'm awake, the fake truther who claims to be the real McCoy, the fraudulent truther who thinks being a hypocrite, there's nothing wrong with being a hypocrite, when there clearly is. Because that comes back to, what did I say about recognizing right from wrong, examining our own behaviors, and being willing to work on our own behaviors for the betterment of society, not just your selfish self. What are we willing to do? Oh, that's right. You're not willing to do that. And I'm not going to call no names on this video whatsoever, because I've experienced this for as long as I've been doing it, over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's how many people are actually doing this in the truther community. And then you wonder why you can't get nowhere, huh? I just thought I'd throw that out there, because that's the real truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth that most of you don't want to hear.